All right, and just like that, we are back. Hey, everybody, I am DJ Kelly Reverb. I am an RSPS. I was waiting for that. Which is a recovery support peer specialist. Thank you. And actually, you have tuned into the show called This Pink Cloud, which is always a complete disaster. But anyway, we're a show about recovery and mental health and all that good stuff, a judgment-free zone, if you will. Yes. Sitting in with me, classing up the show today, I always like to say, is the hope influencer extraordinaire.
Yes.
Soraya Nicole. How are you?
Oh, I'm great.
Yeah?
How are you doing?
Thank you for coming on and being a buffer between me and this guy. And Chittleman's, yes.
I love hanging out with you guys. Seriously, I got to give you some balance, right?
Exactly. You know, I think you're definitely the yin or the yang to our yin or our yang.
Yeah, depending on which one y'all are, then I'll be the opposite.
Right, I'll be the opposite. Yeah. But so sometimes like fun things happen and guests fall through. We actually were supposed to have Dopey on the podcast, Dopey Dave. But instead, we have Dopey Chad.
What the fuck you?
So messed up.
What's up, motherfuckers?
It just came to
There
me.
you go.
Well, no, because we had been talking about wanting to redo your episode because when you came on and told your story, it was fresh and it was hard and it was you could tell that you had not acclimated to society quite yet.
That's like the nicest possible way anybody could have put it.
Right. You were a little rough around the edges.
I've spent fucking 20 months with a bunch of fucking felons.
Yeah.
Playing
That's
spades
true.
every day. So and I still cuss a lot, but
right.
my my stories were a little
Well, I mean, you know you've actually been around people that haven't or aren't incarcerated now, so you have acclimated, I think, to life a little bit better, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I've had to tell, I've told my story a couple times at a couple different places to people,
right?
Because apparently it's interesting.
It is.
Well, no, you have a crazy story. You have
Yeah.
an insane backstory. Like, I mean, out of all the stories I've ever heard, to be honest, I mean, I'm saying top 10 craziest off the rail things that I would go, oh, okay, wow. I can't believe you're not dead.
For real.
And then B, I can't believe it's not yogurt, you know?
I mean, it's not butter.
Yeah, right. I can't believe it's not butter. Yeah,
that's
right,
for sure.
Exactly. But this will be like a more articulate version, I think, of Chad. And I actually know the backstory a little bit because I actually got to live it, as far as us both simultaneously being in our active addictions.
Yeah.
Which was fun. I was like,
yeah, when we made music back then, it was like Chad was making it and Kelly was falling asleep, and then Chad would yell at Kelly, and Kelly would be like, "Why are you so mad?" And then I'd go shoot up in his bathroom. I'd come back out, and Kelly would be asleep again. I'd be like,
no,
"All right, cool."
okay. Let's rephrase that. let's rephrase this off. This is how it was. Chad would be in doing whatever, and then he would go, I need to go to the bathroom. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, if it's over 5 minutes, dude, then he's nodded off and he's shooting up in my bathroom, which was pretty much the case. But but there was my share of, I was probably borderline almost blacking out from alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at the same time.
Right.
So, I'm not the innocent party in any of this. But
and I was a dick, dude, because like fucking I still am, because I tell Kelly something 5 times.
Yeah, you
know what I
still
mean?
are.
And I expect him to learn it at least the third. But back then it was like 20 times, and I was so short, or it seemed like 20 times. It's probably just once.
Maybe.
Right.
But I get so short when I'm on opiates, and then like I come across a certain way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To people, and a lot of people think I'm being like super aggressive or whatever. Well, when I'm on opiates, it's 120 times that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it would seem like I'm just
before the story gets away, let's kind of frame it for the people, because you have lost, a limb. And this was like, tell them the progression of how that started, and then, we'll jump in whatever.
Well, I Hold on, let me check.
Is it still there?
Is it still there?
No, it's gone
Oh,
still.
right.
okay.
I mean, you know what I mean.
It
My
didn't
handicap
grow.
things expire, so I figured the government knows it's going to grow back.
Right.
You
So,
know.
yeah, I lost my leg when I was parachuting off of a carrier jet, a B-52 carrier jet in the Vietnam War.
I thought you were.
I
Gonna
wasn't.
Be,
no, I wasn't
I thought
in
you
the
were
war.
gonna. I thought you were gonna be like DB Cooper, and you had
No,
taken
no,
a plane
no.
hostage and
no,
jumped off
not at all. I
over
was,
Portland.
I was doing some parasailing stuff for the Army,
Right.
because they were filming a surf video.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, and it was during the Vietnam War, so the filming
Right.
was free.
Yeah.
And this is back in what, like 1822.
Right.
So it was like the first
you look
helicopter.
so
it was
good,
spy
though.
You
stuff.
look good.
You
You
look
look
great.
good for your age.
I mean, I appreciate that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I got caught in a helicopter blade, and then it mangled my leg, and then a shark bit it off whenever I landed, and
There
I
you go.
still got the surf shot. You know what I mean? So it was sick.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But yeah, no, I was in college, and I was
How old?
19,
Okay.
and I was. But let's start before that.
Okay.
We'll get into that
All
because
right.
that's different. When I was a kid, I was raised with fucking awesome parents.
Mm-hmm.
They did. I never needed anything, and somebody said that the other day. They were like, because it goes back to the whole God thing. I had,
Yeah.
you know, I was in church all the time and this and that, and then when I was in like middle school, one of the pastors at our church, he had been molesting his niece since he was like one, or since she was like 1 year old or 1 year old,
Okay.
and that like shook my core beliefs or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Oh, because you heard about that was
Heard about
going on.
Yeah, he got
and then
arrested
You're like,
at
oh,
the-
okay,
at the
gotcha.
church.
Oh wow.
Gotcha.
And so I was like, man, fuck that, dude. God, blah blah blah, this and that, and I started immediately. I always wanted somebody to blame, you know,
Yeah.
because I was quick talking, man. I could talk my way into and out of any situation in the entire planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted somebody to blame. So I was just like, cool, I'm just going to put it on God. And since it was forced down my throat, and when you have everything you need as a kid,
Yeah.
well, you don't need God. You know what I mean?
Right.
All my needs were met. So I didn't
Right.
have anything to pray for or anything like that. And
Mhm.
yeah, I prayed every night for all the people in the world and all that, whatever the cute prayer was my parents had me saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't, it wasn't a thing that I needed, right?
Right.
So I just immediately was like, no, I'm disbanding from this, blah, blah, blah. And then I learned that I could cheat and still get the same grades as everybody else, which actually the cheating that I did required more effort than if I would have just learned the shit
Right.
in the
Right.
first place. Every one of my shortcuts that I've taken in my life took,
Ended up being a longer
oh my
cut.
God,
Always.
they were exponentially longer than the road I should have just traveled.
Right.
For sure.
So yeah, I was doing all sorts of stupid shit like that, and then I moved to McKinney in like 6th grade, and then I had a great group of friends, and I don't know, just something. I could not be myself around anybody. I felt like,
Yeah.
because I felt like I was just not misunderstood, but I felt like shit about myself, and I
Okay.
used all of a sudden this thing
Well,
called ego.
You had like low self-esteem.
Yeah,
or
120%.
what? Okay, so you which is kind of commonplace because like I mean everybody I think kind of grows up with that either that self-doubt or anxiety or something of that level
Yeah,
or
and
nature.
it was all of that stuff, and I was super ADD, and my parents didn't believe in ADD medicine. They said it was run by the drug companies because they're what, like 70 years old now, so they were in
Yeah.
an era where they got to see like the FDA and all this stuff started
Right.
approving these medications, and they saw these kids taking all this Ritalin, and they were like, no, fuck that, we don't want that for our kid. We'll just give them
Yeah.
attention,
Yeah.
you know.
we
So,
don't want that for our little Chittlemans.
yeah,
Yes.
you know,
Right.
and they were right on to do that. Although, when I did take Adderall or whatever, it worked fantastically.
Right.
But I mean, fuck, you could give that shit to a dolphin and it could solve world hunger.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? That's
Yeah.
what it's designed to do.
Right.
So, yeah, there was all this anxiety and all this like self-doubt and self-deprecating everything, right? And then I just had like an energy around me, and it was like this. My ego showed up, and I had no idea what it was, but it was a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
It was like a survival technique.
Yeah.
Because I showed up, and it would be there to protect me in front of people, and then it would go away when I was by myself, and I would hate myself. You know?
Yeah.
So everybody had this. I that's why I could never just truly be me around anybody. So I had all these friends in every group, and I would shapeshift.
Yeah.
It's like a goddamn reptilian, man.
Yeah, you are.
Right.
And I was really good at it, though.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
on the surface, like everything seemed super calm, super cool.
Right.
And I'd make you laugh. I'd make you fucking cry. I'd make you whatever you wanted to be. In
Well,
any
do
given
you
moment,
think?
I could
Do
do
you
that.
think? I mean, because it sounds like you've done from the first episode where we did Chad fresh out of jail. It sounds like you've done a lot of soul searching
Yeah.
and kind of.
the
Almost
pieces
like
together.
but looking back even further prior to the PTSD caused by losing your limb.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely, because this all started back then. I can pinpoint it down to the first time when I figured out I could fucking cheat, and
Yeah.
I saw that we would take these accelerated reader tests in elementary school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest book in the library was 40,000 Leagues or 20,000 Leagues, whatever the fuck. I don't
Yeah,
even know what the name
20
of the book is because I
Right.
never read it.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
So
Yes.
what I found out is like when I would read a book, I could take the test 3 times to see if I could pass it. Cool. Well, you know what? That book's worth the most points. I'm going to read the front page. I'm going to read the back.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take that test and I'm going to fucking, you know,
Ace it.
like basically just
I'm
figure
gonna-
out what the wrong answers were. 'Cause
yeah,
it shows
I'm
you
gonna-
what the answers
I'm
are.
gonna- I'm
So
gonna
I can
ace
get the
it.
right ones out of 3 tries.
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna ace it one of these times.
And I did.
Yeah.
So I was like, holy shit, that was so much easier. Really, it was fucking way not easy.
Right.
Yeah.
You know
and,
what I mean?
And it might have actually been a good book.
Yeah, it probably was a good book. I don't, whatever, but
Right.
I don't read books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I need to do that one day.
Still too cool.
Still
for
too cool for fucking school,
There
right?
you
And
go.
there's my ego kicking back
Right.
in. I gotta chop that motherfucker
Or
in
maybe
half
you're just
every
not
day.
a book reader,
Right.
and that is okay too.
No, I'm a
you
book.
know?
I'm a book listener. I'm
Ditto.
like I'm
I
an
like to
audio
listen.
book guy all the way.
Yeah.
The whole reading it feels like too much work for me.
It
Yeah.
is, and I think that's the ADHD because I hated reading.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
I
hate
did too.
it.
Yeah.
So back to my story, not
Yes,
Kelly's
you're-
audiobook story.
Yeah.
There we go. There's
right.
the dickhead. We're back.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I can pinpoint it down. That was when I first started like thinking the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I was immediately rewarded with it. Some of the reward circuitry in my brain was like going fucking
Yeah.
crazy. And since I'm ADHD, I'm sitting there listening to you in class and I'm trying to figure out 5 ways around whatever you just said.
Right.
Instead of just doing, which is fucking crazy to think
Yeah.
like that. But a
Yeah.
lot of people do.
Instead of just doing the required work that
I do.
would
I
be
do what
easy.
I think is like smarter.
How
is
can
like
I-
25 times the actual work.
How can I cheat?
Yeah.
How can I cheat the system?
Yeah.
So that's when I started manipulating, right?
Yeah.
And I did that from an early age. I would say whatever I had to get whatever I had to,
Yeah.
and it didn't start out as like hurtful to other people, but then it became that, right? Because
Right.
all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm funny. Next thing you know, I have all these friends and shit, and like I would feel that ego would creep up, and I would
Right.
feel like, you know what? I could get a laugh if I make fun of so and so. You know what I mean? And it
Right.
would, everybody.
Right.
But then I was just a fucking dickhead
Yeah.
running around at everybody else's
Hey,
expense.
I can
Yeah.
say that you still do that a little bit.
But dude, it's now it's situational, right?
Right.
If the person I can pinpoint if somebody's gonna laugh at something that I say, and
Right.
every now and then I miss and it's fucked up.
oh,
and
and
I have to apologize.
I know exactly when Chad's gonna bag on me in front of Waverly. No, in front of my wife, I know exactly Chad's gonna. I go, oh shit, Chad's getting ready to make fun of me in front of my wife, and then my wife's gonna laugh at it, and then
Yes.
I'm gonna get just a slightly butthurt,
Yeah.
and then just move on. But you still do it, dude. So
I
don't,
do.
Don't sell yourself short. there,
I
buddy.
do, but it's mostly situational now.
Yeah.
I'm better at it because like situational, it just in any given moment, the thing that I've found that keeps me present and the thing that has saved my life is
Yeah.
being able to laugh.
Yeah.
Right. So like it, it can be somebody says something to me and my brain's just so weird. I'll be
Right.
like, you know how I just heard that, and then I'll say it in a stupid voice back to him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that
Yeah.
that it works really well with the kids that I work
Oh,
with.
for
They think that
sure.
shit's great.
Yeah.
And that's just how I am all the time though
Yeah.
now. But I could not find that happy medium. So then I started playing golf in high school with my buddies, and the first time I drank was probably in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with a family member. I won't, say anything, but
Yeah.
and he ended up being like a star-studded genius. Like that whole side of the family, they're like fucking rocket scientists,
Wow.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was interesting to see the difference in parenting styles or whatever. But I'm just me. Nobody
Yeah.
could have fucking done anything different.
No.
You know.
Right.
So going in, there was Midori in my parents' fucking liquor cabinet.
Midori.
Yeah, and I was like, that shit looks cool. Let's mix it with Mountain Dew, and I did.
Isn't Midori like the purple stuff?
No, it's a green fucking.
the
green
green
liqueur.
stuff. Yeah.
So we drank some of that, and then I just remember, like the first 5 minutes or whatever, I was like, actually, that tastes pretty good. And then 5 minutes later, I was like, give me that whole fucking bottle.
Yeah.
So from the second that I changed the way that I felt, it's like I didn't have to worry about, I had arrived, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that fucking, I had arrived. I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I can just do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And every single time I tried another drug, it was like that. So then I started, we went to the golf course. And I wasn't like an alcoholic in fucking 9th grade.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when I started playing golf, one of my friends fucking, we smoked weed out of a Coke can or whatever. And I got up to hit the ball, and I just started laughing. I couldn't feel my fucking arms. Right. I was like, this is so cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've never felt this before. So I was like, I'll just smoke weed every now and then. Well, a week later, I'm literally smoking like an eighth a day to myself.
Oh my
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm in 9th grade. I'm trying to hide it from everybody. Then I start smoking cigarettes because the cart girl's hot.
Yeah.
I thought.
Well, no, but it also seems to be like that
And she
you
smoked, so
no,
I was
but
like, hell yeah.
you started learning like that behavior young, like in order to escape.
Yeah.
You started carving those neural pathways.
Oh, absolutely.
Early on,
Yeah.
but some people, and what people don't realize is some people are very highly receptive to using a substance and then it being a part of their life and being addicting, whereas other people can just, I can just do this and walk away from it. And,
So, and that's what I was
when they
get
say you
into.
have an addictive personality.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's like the right terminology because they're going back on that now. I don't really care. I could literally do anything and get addicted to it because the first person I manipulate is myself.
Yeah.
Right? The very first person. And that's what I started doing back in fucking 5th grade when I started cheating is I was manipulating myself. So if I'm going to fucking spin some tale to you about this, whatever I want you to believe, I've already spun it to myself and I made it sound so good, or I kept saying it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Subconsciously to where I believe that shit.
Yeah.
So,
which is so dangerous. I mean, because you're not even, you don't even realize that you're losing yourself.
Yeah.
You're
I
not
had
even just
no idea.
manipulating everybody else. Like you literally are manipulating yourself and you're losing who you truly are.
Yeah.
You know?
And it took me, I had to get locked up and all that other shit. But anyways.
Well, seriously.
Yeah,
like,
I'm progressive.
Yeah.
I'm progressive. It's alcoholism is a progressive illness, Kelly, if you know anything about the big book.
That is correct, sir.
But
we have no understanding of addiction.
Right? So I started smoking weed all the time. Just shut up.
The Pillsbury
Pillsbury
Doughboy. Yeah.
So I started smoking weed every day, like nonstop, and I had to have it to get out of bed. And then I wanted to go to college, and my parents were like, well, I got kicked off the golf team because I got brought back to the school in a cop car because we were smoking weed at my friend's house.
So your parents knew that.
They
that you
knew,
were
yeah.
doing stuff.
They knew I did. And then they would try and reprimand me for it or whatever, like ground me or whatever it was. And then I would just sneak out of the fucking house, and I was really good at being at doing the wrong thing.
At being a bad kid.
But unfortunately, there's no right way to do the wrong thing, and it will catch up to you eventually, right?
Yes.
So, but all my consequences I escaped out of. I got caught brought back to school in a cop car, and the only consequence I got out of that, instead of me getting in trouble for smoking weed, I had a 4-hour-long conversation with the SRO, the school resource officer, and convinced him that I was one of the ones that can smoke weed and get my life together.
And what did they have to say about that?
Dude, I was going in there to be in trouble, and I came out, and he was like, "Man, you're really an awesome person."
So
I was that fucking cold.
He actually bought your line of shit.
100%, or he appeared to just to get me the fuck out of the office.
Because he was tired.
Yeah,
he was tired of listening.
He's like, this shit's out of my pay grade.
Learn
man.
the
He was like,
hard
this dude's
way.
fucked later on in
Right,
life.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I never had any real consequences ever in my entire life. And then I went to college.
Do you think that if you did have consequences, like say if your parents were like really, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, something other than like sending you to jail or something like that. Do you think like it would have made a difference?
No, I think I would have figured out a way around it.
Right.
You know what I mean? that was my MO.
No, man. Because like I say that like kind of about like family members of mine. I think if they had some real consequences, like jail or something like that, that might wake them up. But right now, there's no real consequence to doing what she's doing or what they're doing. So there's no consequence.
So in life, you can either be a lesson or a blessing to other people. And unfortunately, to be a blessing to other people, you have to go through a shit ton of lessons. Yeah. And there's the difference between a wise man and a smart man is a smart man learns from his own mistakes, which I could not fathom making my own mistake, right? Yeah. I just need to move a little differently next time. Yeah. And a wise man will learn from the mistakes of others. So I did neither of those things. Right. I just kept making the same mistakes, and the universe will keep throwing the fucking lesson at you over and over and over, and it will get increasingly worse, exponentially worse until you finally learn it. Yeah. And with the brain that I have on my shoulders, those lessons were lost in translation because I was fucked up. Yeah. From the time I was 14 till I was fucking 31, I was high, or 12 till I was 31, I was high. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like that whole jail thing, like jail doesn't fucking heal people.
But you're kind of glossing over. I want to go timeline a little bit here.
I was talking about consequences, right? Yeah. Jail, it isn't jail that heals people. Yeah. Everything happens exactly how it's fucking supposed to. Okay. And I would not believe that. I thought I could change every outcome and everything, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But unfortunately and fortunately, life happens exactly the way it's supposed to put you exactly where you're supposed to be at all points in time. So every little moment's so interconnected. So that's why I was going with all this stuff, right? That I went to college and I had got with this girl, and I made a bunch of stupid decisions, and I was skipping class, and I was still passing most of my fucking classes, and I did really well at the ones I went to. Yeah. But then I had to get loans and blah, blah, blah for the next semester, and this was a fucking expensive school. It was really stupid. And the only reason I went there is because I got high on campus and was like, cool, this is in the woods. I want to do this. Yeah. Right. And that's literally it. So it was another mistake. And I can see all these mistakes that I've made now.
Yeah, in hindsight. Yeah.
In hindsight, right? Hindsight 2020, I probably wouldn't have done it the same.
What's that?
But I'm in there, and I just got back to school. She had cheated on me sometimes or whatever, and I got back together with her, and it was the same day I had just got the job working for the school. As part of my degree thing or whatever. I was like a kitchen manager. I was going for hospitality management or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then when I went, it was like the best day I'd ever had. I was going back to work my third shift, and I ran out of gas like less than a mile from the school. Mm-hmm. So I was pushing my car for probably like 30 minutes, and somebody was helping me, and it was rush hour. And some lady, came up and saw the gap where the guy had parked his car, and she came up, hit me going 60.
Right.
And I was directly behind my car. So I woke up in the fucking median, and I tried to get up and help, and everybody held me down, and then I passed out, and then I woke up in the helicopter. I was like, this is cool. I've never been in a helicopter before. And then I woke up on the operating table. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then the next thing you know, I'm waking up in ICU, and fucking left leg's broken in like 12 places, some shit like that. There's rods holding it all together. Right leg's gone. So
did that happen at the scene?
No, like it actually.
Was it just so mangled that they made the executive decision to?
Well, there was
amputate.
Yeah, there was 10 inches of bone that was just like
missing,
pulverized.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Into like powder.
Right.
So that. They decided to take that one, then they could have taken the other one. At first, when they woke me up in the operating room, they said they were going to take both.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, no, you're fucking not. And I passed back out.
Right.
That's all I remember from that. And then I woke up and one was gone. And then I had from my hip down holding that leg straight on one set of rods on the side, and then the one on top of my shin.
Right.
So it was gnarly. And I was in that wheelchair for a while. But, dude, even in ICU, fool, I was smoking weed.
Right.
I took the oxygen hose off the thing because I wasn't using it.
Sure.
And I put a one-hitter in it. And I was smoking weed in my hospital bed in ICU.
But
this is in 2008 where I could have gotten a lot of trouble.
Right next to the oxygen tank.
Yeah, right next to it. And that was my manipulation.
Well, before we move on, let's start a commercial real quick. Yeah. We've got the lovely Max the X. I know, I love it, dude. We actually get to see the weather today.
The
I love
lightning
it.
show.
Yeah.
But we've got Lone Star Injury Attorneys, and that is Max the Axe at, if you go to thispinklawyer.com, it will take you to Lone Star Injury Attorneys, and he is a personal injury attorney. He practices in California and Texas, and he's a good dude. So hit up Max at thispinklawyer.com, and he actually has no gatekeepers, so he will get back to you and definitely help you out. And then our new sponsor, drumroll, and we're actually having him on next week, which I'm excited.
He's just at the door.
He's a good dude, but it is actually Stepping Stones Sober Living. So, and Chad has this groovy AI commercial that they wrote.
Yes, this thing is actually pretty good.
Right. Do you actually have the?
I have the
there
whole
you go.
the whole
Perfect.
copy or whatever.
I love it.
All right, and so if there's somebody you know, or are you or someone you know struggling with addiction and looking for a safe and supportive environment to begin this road to recovery?
Yes, I am.
Well, Stepping Stones Sober Living is the place to go.
Oh, that sounds fabulous.
And they know firsthand the journey to sobriety can seem impossible because they've been through it, but you don't have to do it alone. They got community that provides support and encouragement for you to stay on track and achieve your recovery goals. They offer clean and comfortable accommodations that will help you feel right at home. Plus our historic location, God, man. Plus our location is conveniently close to historic downtown McKinney and a bunch of recovery groups, so you can easily access the support and resources you need to succeed.
There you go. Now go Morgan Freeman.
Recovery is a journey, not a destination. If you're serious about your recovery, then we want to help.
There we go. I love it. Hey, but give them a call at 920-454-0569. Once again, that is 920-454-0569. It is Stepping Stones Sober Living. Joe will answer the phone or get back to you. And they actually have 2 houses, and I've seen pictures, and they're nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some people that are there. It's pretty cool.
All right, so back to your off the wheel. So we had just gotten to the part where you're
got hit by the car.
Yeah, and you're in the ICU, and one leg is gone, and one leg is almost gone or stationary.
Yeah.
And
And I got road rash galore all over my leg. But the only injury I had above my head was this scar that I have like right here.
Right.
Or above my knees, really. And that was like, that was all the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, man, whatever you're comfortable calling it, saved my life so many times over. And this was one of the ones.
Yeah.
Right.
But it wasn't just that, because you'd think you'd learn a lesson, like, you know what I mean? Like blah, blah, blah. But I couldn't see any of that, because now I have to deal with PTSD. I have to deal with this. I have to deal with that, and opioids.
Well, and also with the lady that hit you. I mean, like, did you have a hard time, like, with forgiveness of her? Or,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, your feelings of all of that.
120%. Apparently, her son was the cop that showed up to the scene. He took her straight home. She had back then liability insurance, which is basically no insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
So my medical bills were like $1.3 million,
Yeah.
and there was $25,000 allotted from her insurance for that. So, and I got lucky because I had just moved to that apartment. Dallas County resident, so I got the Parkland Plus program, so my shit got covered basically with charity. And it was wild. All of these things, like I said, everything happens exactly how it's supposed to in life.
Yeah.
So had I not moved to that apartment, had I not gone to work, had I not done this, so it's this interconnected thing that I can see now that I was blind to, because I didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
And
well, you were too busy trying to manipulate everybody else into the Chad show.
I was too busy to try. I was too busy to see it in my own life, because I was trying to create it myself and other people's.
Right.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which really is just because misery loves company, I guess. And I was just trying to bring.
Well, we're in the middle of all of this shit too. It's not, I mean, like, you can't have that outside perspective.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. Like, I could say, like, oh, I got laid off, or, this and this happened. Like, oh, it's a blessing for a reason. But I mean, that shit sucks. And like everything that you're dealing with it, how can you have to feel and deal with those emotions, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't beat yourself up for not, like, oh, I wasn't, like, on my knees thanking God for all of this stuff happening, because
right.
you can't.
Well, but Chad is also owning the fact that he was a bit of a shit ass back
I was
before.
in shit
Like,
show before.
he was
that.
but he was like kind of a manipulator
Yeah,
and
that's
kind of
true.
a shady kid, and he's owning
Yeah.
up to that. But I think you've only really realized or recognized that now after you've had time to reflect.
For sure.
Well, so I think I recognized it the whole time, and it was like my deepest, darkest secret. You know what I mean? And it ate me alive.
Okay.
Because I knew I was doing wrong things because I had a motive behind it. I don't know what it was the whole time, but I had motives, and they were not in check.
Right. They
like
were
now,
not good.
Now, like things that I do in my life and stuff, like I don't have to check my motives and my intentions because I know, like, I know where I'm at inside. Right. That hole has been filled, right?
Yeah.
And it's completely different. But so that started me on opiates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And high doses of hydrocodone and Dilaudid.
Mm-hmm.
And then I quit doing that for a little bit when I was in a wheelchair, and I started selling them to my friends because I could smoke more weed that way. Because I liked weed better than opiates at this point. But something about all of that stuff, I don't know. I got curious. That's really all it was. I got fucking curious, and when I was walking around,
it was like let's see how good it is.
Yeah, because I had
it's good, but
I had other friends that were doing like way stronger shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I was fucking with coke and drinking all the time, and literally everything.
Yeah.
Well, and then were you in a wheelchair at this time, or
no?
did
For
you
2.5 years, I was in a wheelchair.
Okay.
And it was like a year and a half, and then I walked for a little bit, and then I had to go back down. And then I had to go back again after because of surgery or whatever.
Are they? Yeah, but then now they have it like figured out with your prosthetic to where you're okay. So,
yeah, it was my left leg that was still fucked up.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, because you have not only are you missing a limb, but then the other limb is not so good.
Yeah, don't tell him you said that, dude.
Right. Huh?
You might. Don't tell my leg you said that.
Hey,
dude, pissed off,
I'm talking shit about your left leg.
All right, fool.
Don't get kicked.
We'll see how well that works for you, dude.
Right.
All right. But yeah, so the left one's still messed up. It's still broken in like 3 places on the little bone. And this has been, that was in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's like carries 3% of my weight. So it's not that big of a deal. It's just really annoying and painful.
Right. It's not like you could sprint.
I cannot. Even with a running leg, I'm not supposed to be able to run because I don't have the mobility in my ankle or whatever.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and I didn't realize how big of a deal that was. I didn't realize how big of a deal losing a leg was. I just kind of put it off like, oh, man, I'll get through it. Because everybody around me is like, oh, my God, you're so strong. Oh, my God, you're so this, you're so that.
Dude, and I get to be a pirate for Halloween
dude.
every year.
I have fucking won costume contests, dude.
Right.
Yeah,
For real. So, yeah, all of this stuff is going on, and I'm just bottling it all up. There's no reason to deal with it. I was like, oh, no, I'm strong. I'm fucking strong as fuck.
Right.
And that was my ego. That was my defense mechanism because deep inside I was torn up. And I had been since way before that. So, but yeah, I had to come to terms and realize that it was just the way that I thought that I could not be by myself.
Yeah.
I could not be by myself because I fucking hated myself. And that turned into, and if you don't treat yourself good, imagine how you're going to treat everybody else.
Right.
So,
so you couldn't be by yourself. Like, I mean, were you not comfortable with sitting with your own thoughts?
Yeah,
is what it was.
My thoughts were
like,
like impossible to deal with.
Right. Okay.
And I used to have to shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
And
you used to do that by opioids.
Opioids, weed, fucking alcohol, whatever you wanted. And then it turned into, I'll never shoot heroin. And then I had friends that were doing heroin, and I was like, well. And then I got tricked into doing it because this guy said it was morphine powder. And I don't fault him for it, man, because I've been an addict. And what he was doing, he was buying tar, and he was making cheese out of it because he had a really bad addiction. And he would sell the cheese to his friends, calling it morphine, so that because we snorted morphine pills, that was no big deal. It's just morphine, right?
Right.
Well, 3 months in, I don't have any, and I'm fucked.
Right.
Like dope sick, and I'd been dope sick before, but it was like from hydrocodones and whatever, so that shit goes away fairly quickly. But this did not. This I could not shake.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, oh, well, we got to go get it and make it. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I already I had a feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that turned into that. And then my rock bottom was like, okay, cool. Well, at least I'm not fucking shooting up. And then I got curious.
Right.
You know what I mean? I got curious, and I was like, oh, that must fucking feel good if all my friends are ruining their lives to it. That was the thinking that I had.
Right.
Yeah.
And I literally brought it in my brain as, well, maybe if I if I was to use it and then to die or whatever, maybe it would be a wake up call for them. And that's it's like fucking.
You're like, maybe if I died, they'd learn a lesson.
You know what I mean? Because I'm so selfless. No, it's just bullshit that I told myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wanted to be a martyr for what, dude?
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna learn a fucking lesson out of that. They're just gonna be like, Chad's a fucking idiot.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's how I spun it to myself. I have never said that to. I told that to a couple people. But, yeah, that's how I spun it. I was like, well, maybe if I do it and then I die or I overdose or whatever, then fucking people will quit. No, that's bullshit. It was just me being fucking sick and tired. Yeah. And I was the problem. The heroin was the solution, right?
Right.
And then I was drinking and everything, and it started shooting up, and that turned into a fucking fiasco.
Well,
but I successfully navigated it, as you would say.
That turned
like
into
8 years.
Skin popping, right?
Well. Yeah, so that turned into me not being able to hit veins because I was doing incredibly excessive amounts. And tar heroin is insanely bad for you. So you lose veins very quickly. So then I lost all my veins or whatever, and then that'd be why I was in his bathroom for 45
That's not what I heard,
minutes.
Chad. I heard tar heroin was good for you.
Yeah, right. And not counting all the times that people melted Dr. Pepper and froze it and sold it to me, and I shot that up, or whatever it was.
Right, yeah, sure.
So that turned into this wild chase, man, and I was the problem. But I was like, everybody else knew that there was an issue, they just didn't know what it was because I hit it really well at first, and then all of a sudden people start finding needles around and they start putting 2 and 2 together. Right. But I'm still talking my way out of everything.
Well, I got to be honest. Like I didn't want to believe it at the beginning because I was at a bar where you were sound engineering, and then I came back and I was like, oh, well, where's Chad? You know, I mean, he's like obviously the best sound guy y'all have. Yeah, for sure, hands down. And he goes, well, something we found, like something in the bathroom, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, blew it off and went to talk to him later, and he goes, yeah, I found a needle in the bathroom. Yeah, and then still Chad denied it to me because we had traded numbers or something, and he was like, oh no, that guy's full of shit, man. You totally was like, oh, there's no way. And so that's the red flag that went up in my mind. And then Chad's like, oh, maybe he is exhibiting habits of a heroin user. So.
Yeah. And then I got fired or whatever from that job. And then I had a bunch of cool jobs, man, really cool jobs. I had a really decent career as a sound guy. Working in Texas country, which I hate country music, but it pays the bills out here, and it's not that hard to make sound good. It's really not. Same fucking song every time. But that's a different conversation.
Right.
I need more spiritual growth before I can talk about country music. But so that like I said, I'd never shoot up, and then that turned into, oh well, I'll never become homeless, and then that turned into, oh well, I'll never do this or do that.
It's
and
like
then
it
was
an
never
say never,
but
right?
it's like that bar kept on
every
perpetually
time.
getting lower.
The rock bottom,
time.
it will go
For
as low
sure.
as you can push it.
Oh,
and I still got room.
And
I got wiggle room.
And
to go.
and
I don't know how, but I'm sure I do.
Some people don't hit that rock bottom before before death, dude.
Yeah.
So some people it's like death, and then there's still a little wiggle room down there. But yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of people, once you get towards that lower 10%, dude, that's where death happens.
Yeah,
really, because you were in the fucking hospital, dude, and shooting into your line that they had set up for your infection for your heart.
Yeah.
Right?
So the first time I went to the hospital for some serious complications, it was for my hands, right? And both of them are like this,
right?
And the entire things were open.
Dang.
The entire things were open. They had
he used to show up. He used to show up with his hands bandaged, and seeping wounds, right? And I would be like, "Hey, dude,
you okay?"
Yeah, I'd be like, "He's like, I'm good, dude. Let's go." I would be like, "Don't you think you maybe need to go to the hospital?" Dude?
Yeah, but you were probably so high you didn't even did it even hurt, or were you just?
Oh yeah, it hurt like a motherfucker. Yeah. I was so good. Like, pain is like a very interesting thing, right? The more I was caught in what they call an opioid feedback loop, right? So that happens when your pain level is really high, and then you start taking pain meds.
Yeah.
And then the pain meds block the natural opioids. So then all of a sudden, your pain starts going up when you're taking the opioids, but your body can no longer produce it.
Yeah.
So then your pain gets worse the more opioids you take. So I was in like fucking insane amounts of pain.
Yeah.
I was in worse pain than I've ever been in my entire life when I was at the highest doses of pain medicine or heroin that I was doing.
Yeah.
Period. My pain is like, it's manageable.
Yeah.
You know, completely manageable. But my life wasn't manageable.
No.
So like, let me give the wheels to some doctors before the opioid epidemic started. And that's what really spun the whole thing off. And then, you know, next thing you know, 10 years later, I'm doing heroin. I'm living on the street. On Northwest Highway. I went to my drug dealer's house. I just never fucking left.
Yeah.
Gave my phone for some dope and then fucking said fuck it. Started hitting people up for money and all this shit. And so many people. And I was panhandling too after a while. And I'm grateful for all of this stuff that's happened because I got to see a side of the world that nobody else gets to see until you're there.
Yeah.
Right? I had more clothes donated to me. In those 2 years that I was homeless, I made more fucking money off of people just handing me cash.
Right.
It was wild, man.
Yeah.
Like I got to see because you get so caught up in like the cynicism of the world and shit like that.
Right.
That it just seems like the world's just such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, there's fucking brilliant and amazing people. That drive
there's
by
really
every
nice.
single time.
There's really good people out there, but the thing is you're caught up in your own reality that you created. But I was going to ask you, like, what you know, as far as like the recovery part, when did you actually start wanting that? I mean, because I don't think you ever really did want recovery until you were forced to recover in prison.
Well, yeah. So the last time I shot up, I was in the hospital, and I had the worst thing that you can get other than HIV and AIDS, which is called endocarditis, and it's where the bacteria sticks to the lining of your heart, and it starts poisoning the rest of your blood, and you go septic, and it will kill you super quick. So I had that, and I had already been tested for it like 1,000,000 times, and I'd never got it. So I just kept going out and using more. And I've spent over 1.5 years in Parkland hospital systems inpatient because of heroin infections. I only spent 28 days in there for my leg.
Wow.
So that just goes to show you how gnarly that shit can get. But yeah, they know me by fucking name, dude.
Right.
And I had fucking woke up from a coma because I had been shooting at this point speedballs now because I started doing that, and that's what really, when I added cocaine to the mix, that's when I ended up homeless and everything else. And that is something otherworldly, man. And I was trying to kill myself every time I did a shot, and it would just never work, I guess. And I got really lucky, but
so you really had the intention of just
dying, using till I died. That was it.
That was it?
That was
wow.
it. Okay. Just like when I fucking smoked weed and I told my parents, I was like, hey, I want to go to college to fucking legalize weed. They're like, you're fucking high. I was like, hell yeah, I am. I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
Every single drug I touched, I did the same thing with, right? I want to drink all the time. I want to do this. I want to until I fucking die, until I can't anymore. And that just seemed like logical because I was so lost on the inside. And so we get to me shooting up in the hospital after I came out of a coma because my body had shut down.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where I was. I was saying all this crazy shit. My mom was right there. But the one thing I did remember is I remembered my dope dealer's phone number. I don't know how many days I was out. But I was out for a while on a ventilator and all that stuff. And then, I got some dope delivered to the hospital, and then I shot up into the same IV line that was in my actual fucking heart valve that was cleaned out.
That was administering the antibiotics for your heart, right? For the endocarditis.
Yes. And it was wild. So I got caught because I got high doing that. And then the cops were like, hey, the nurse came in, she saw me with a thing hanging out of my neck. And the cops came in, they were like, hey, we're not going to arrest you or anything. And I was like, man, I'm an idiot, right? Because I basically snitched myself out. They were like, we need you to write an incident report. And I was like, oh, they were so nice. They caught me with heroin and blah, blah, blah. And they didn't charge me. Well, I got caught again because I still had some because they never searched me.
Right.
And then they were like, all right, dude, like, you're fucking fucked.
Yeah.
You know, like, what? You got to quit doing this shit or whatever. But that was God, like, working through me to basically hold myself accountable for it when I was that high because I didn't give a shit. And what it ended up doing is it ended up giving me a drug charge which I tried to sign myself out of the hospital, and after all of this stuff, they were watching my room, you know. But in my brain, I'm like, cool, they're not here. I'm not in handcuffs. I'm going to go back out.
Right.
And at this point, I can't even walk. I can't even hold myself up from the bed because I've been in a coma.
Right.
So, yeah, I ended up going to jail, and then I had to relearn how to walk in the infirmary, which is like the 4th time I've had to relearn how to walk.
And this whole time, you're not even taking any of your, like, parents' feelings into consideration whatsoever.
Nobody else exists.
And I mean, I'm talking to his mom, like, when he's in jail at that point, and we're just like, you know, hopefully this
How did she feel? Was she just like,
well,
this
I mean,
is the
do you
best
want to
place
speak
for him
that?
right now?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I think and that's another cool part of his story is that that Shannon had him, which is Grace to Change, had him arrested, which was
I skipped over that.
The best thing that I think actually saved Chad's life.
Yeah, that started the downfall. Like, I went in there to go see, because Shannon was my mom's friend. I went in there to go, like, talk to her and agree to go to treatment, right?
Okay.
And then she had me, my mom planned this thing out where because I had a warrant for, like, a fucking theft charge, which is whatever, misdemeanor. And they were like, they weren't going to come out. But then she told them, like, my mental health was failing. I was going to die.
Yeah.
So then the cops came out, and they basically arrested me at Grace to Change. And for the longest time, I was like, fuck you guys, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Those people changed my life.
Right.
And now I'm best friends with them. And I go back there all the time.
Right.
But yeah, this is like a couple years after that, because I had to keep spiraling.
Yeah.
I couldn't learn my lesson then because I kept getting out of the consequences.
Yeah.
So I keep
That's
spiraling.
what I was saying. Like, there was no real consequences.
There was no real
Right.
consequences until I was in, even when I was in jail, man. Like, I was in there for a couple months, and it was just, I didn't have a drug charge at this point. It was for, because I had been cashing checks and that were written out to me that people were paying me to cash.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of them,
Just
but only one of them landed me in there for a long time. The other ones ended up getting dropped. So I was in there, and I signed, or 4 months in, all of a sudden I get another indictment for a charge that I didn't even know I had, and it was for the under a gram, right?
Okay.
Had that not have happened, I would have got out at 7 months.
Yeah.
Right, I would have got out when I went to court and just been on probation. I would have fucking died when I got out.
Yeah, I think you would have gone straight out and used.
For sure. And so this happened, and then all of a sudden I get a different judge, and the case was handled poorly because I signed for probation, then I was supposed to go to these other programs or whatever, and it takes you fucking 3 to 4 months to go there.
Yeah.
Well, 5 months in, I get denied. Then instead of letting me go then, she sends me to another program. And then 5 months later, I get denied for that program because some of the medication I was taking for nerve pain at the time.
Yeah.
So I sat in there on probation for a total of 13 extra months. And I was super angry at it. And when I finally got out, I was still angry. But I had to let that shit go, man.
Yeah.
Like, everything happened exactly how it was supposed to. Because now, like, when I got out, I had to go to a treatment center, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even after I'd already been sober all this time, well, I've been dry. I wasn't really sober.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You
and,
were, it was forced.
It was
forced. Forced
Right.
sobriety.
I had started going to AA when I was in jail or whatever, and it was really funny because, like, one of the first times I walked in, they were reading page 30, and it's like, we are like men who have lost their legs; they never grow new ones. And I was like, what the fuck?
Right.
So then I went to
this.
I went to this rehab, and it was like a AA kind of boot camp thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Brazos, right?
Yeah, Brazos.
Shout out Brazos.
Shout out
It's
to
all
them. And they basically kind of train you how to be a sponsor in 3 months while you're there. And they do trauma work. They do all of the stuff right.
Yeah.
Right. And the rehab it was tricky to navigate for me because I felt like I didn't need to be there because I'd already spent all this time sober, but really it was just fucking delusion because I had just been in jail.
Right.
And then I ended up getting kicked out, which was the best thing that happened about, like, and the fact that I kept fighting everything. I was fighting every bit of it.
Well, that's kind of your MO,
That's
dude.
my MO,
Yeah.
man. I will fucking, because I know how to swim. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah,
Drop me off
dude.
in a fucking river.
Right.
I'm going to end up drowning, but I think I know how to swim.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? But,
or you're going to go down.
I'll go down
Yeah,
fucking
right.
paddling.
Yeah.
Right.
For real. And but I kept fighting the program, and I got kicked out. And I had a choice when I got kicked out. I had to take a train with no phone call and no money in my pocket or anything like that. And I had a choice. I ended up going back to fucking Dallas. I could have just got high right then. And for some reason I didn't. Because I didn't want it at this time. You know what I mean? I had done some soul searching at this point. And I was like, fuck, man, like, I want to do this, this, and this. And I do not want to go back because I'd spent enough time away and I'd started seeing all of the shattered pieces.
Yeah.
You
and
know
you
what
knew
I
that
mean?
was like your pivotal moment then in your life.
It was absolutely like, holy shit, this is what they were talking about.
Now. It's not like I've just got this
you do
one
the next
road
right
to
thing,
hell. Right.
or you go back to the shitter.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I met my mom or whatever. She picked me up, and then I ended up going to a sober living, and then that was super cool. And it took me a while to like start working and stuff, but you know, I got on this show with Kelly or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you know, we were talking like sometimes when I was in jail and all that stuff. And
I got the phone calls.
Yeah.
And everybody I called, they wouldn't bail me out because they knew.
They knew that.
I know. I got the call.
Right.
I got the call once.
Kelly!
No, it's like, well, I mean, when you're in jail, you go down that Rolodex list.
Yes.
You know, you go down that list of who's cool and who might do it, who might co-sign your bond. And I got that call, and I was like, nah, yeah, I did, and I put it off on Waverly. I was like, no fucking way, dude.
Right.
You're in there, and you need to be in there.
Yeah.
So it's the best place for him, and you know, and I'm glad you did, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be here, guaranteed, 100% today. You know. So
if I would have got out a day early, I couldn't tell you what would have happened.
Right.
A day earlier than when I was supposed to get out, because time was my worst enemy. I kept wanting things to happen so instantly, and now I was forced to learn patience in jail. I was forced to learn the importance of being myself, because I was trying to portray whoever.
I've got a question for you though. I got a question for you though. So, because I mean, we're coming to. We need to get Joe on. But so like, if you had any advice to the Chad that was using, what would you tell him to do besides fuck off?
Fuck it. I would tell him to fuck off, and I would tell him to be himself. Dude.
Right.
Because that like all of the things that I thought I wanted, that I thought I was going to get by manipulating people.
Yeah.
Like all that shit just comes out of the woodwork now because I don't have anybody else to be.
Right.
I have these like amazing conversations with people, and like I look at every moment now as like, okay, cool. Like this happened. Oh my God, this happened because this happened. And then because this happened.
Right.
And I'm grateful for every little step along the way. And every single time like something bad happens, instead of me getting fucked up about it and it's sitting around, it's an opportunity for me to grow. If I treat this person like this, cool. What could I do differently?
Right.
How can I fucking make that right? How can I do this? How can I do that?
Instead of the old like,
well, fuck them.
They're wrong, and what can I do to manipulate them into thinking what I want to think?
Exactly. And I have to work on that every day. I have to like get better admitting when I'm wrong and this and that. But like my daily, like I reflect every day on how the day went and stuff like that. And I ended up going to AA and sticking with it. I did not have a sponsor for a long time.
Okay.
I got one recently. Because I want to be able to sponsor other people.
Well, and I think you were kind of reluctant about that because you still have that part of you, and that's okay.
I still fight.
Yeah. It's okay. I mean, it's just part of your personality to try to buck the system.
Yes, and but everything happened exactly how it was supposed to, because the thing I hated the most and I didn't want to do. Because people talked about AA and all that stuff for years, and I was like, fuck that. Yeah, I've read the big book. And they're like, they always look at me and laugh, dude.
Right.
Because if they knew I'd read the big book, they would know I would start laughing about the men who had lost their legs.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I did finally read it, everything started clicking, and it was a hopeless state of mind and body that I had suffered from for my entire life.
Yeah.
And I don't have that anymore. I have peace, and my mind still races, and I say crazy shit and all the time, but the motive behind me saying the crazy shit is because my filter is like almost it is little
non-existent.
A little to non-existent.
Well, it's gotten better. Better. It has regenerated a bit.
But I don't say crazy things to hurt people anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Like the projection.
Not as often.
No, not at all.
Not as often.
So you're hurting
and
other people.
I meet all these people, and it turns into an opportunity to try and help.
It is funny how that works, man. You just lay back, and it's just like instead of trying to force your narrative on what's around you, magically kind of happens.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
literally, like
Literally.
even when we went to that show the other night, the conversations that we were having.
Yeah,
with
it was
these
just
people,
weird. Like
That's how
people
it
like
happens.
are just coming to us. And we're
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, because like your vibe is just open, right?
Yeah.
And the more you're able to accept yourself, you're able to accept others and vice versa. Because if I'm going to allow you to be yourself, then that's also teaching myself that I can learn to accept myself.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah. Now I get to work in fucking treatment.
Yeah,
And I get
that's
to
cool.
show these other kids that it's okay to be yourself. And if
That's
you got
so
trauma, you
awesome.
got
And
to work on it.
you're at the Phoenix house, right?
Yeah, I'm at Phoenix House.
Okay.
And, we're doing this podcast. We got music. It just my life is and I have everything that I've ever needed
Yeah.
and ever wanted.
Yeah.
And now anything else that comes is just fucking blessings.
Dude, I can't wait till a
or
documentary
whatever.
comes out about your not a documentary, but like, just a reenactment of all that shit. Because like for real, you should be dead. You
Yeah.
should
Oh,
be.
it's 30,
Oh,
30
well,
million
you
times
know.
over.
Yeah.
My mom's writing a book, and she
Is
has
she? That's
some author
awesome.
friends that are helping her do it. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Well, I'll show it to you before I put it out." I was like, "I don't give a fuck. Put it
Is your
out."
mom? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the book going to be called "Is Chad Dead"?
I don't know what it's gonna be called.
Man,
I think it should be called "Where's Chad's
I don't
Leg?"
like to read. But Where's Chad's Leg?
There we go.
It's in the red
But
bag.
yeah, the opportunity to help people is always
Yeah.
out there, and
Right.
it doesn't matter if you have fucking 5 minutes or 5 years or 50 years.
Right.
If there's something that you're doing, you never know the 2 words that you say that are going to help somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
And your life might not be perfect. You might not be the one who's supposed to be recovered or whatever, but your life could be for that one time when you ask that homeless person how their day is and they don't go kill themselves. That
For
could be your
real.
entire purpose
That's so.
in life.
It's so true.
And
That's so
it
true.
doesn't. I don't fucking give a fuck about
Right.
what this star.
that I
whatever.
gotta be all of these things,
Nah.
and then I'm worth living. No, you're
If
worth
I can help
living.
one person with a couple words that I
Right.
say one day, then my entire life has been completely worth it. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's already happened.
Oh,
so
for
anything
sure.
that comes after this is fucking
Is gravy.
Yeah.
Well, cool, dude. Well, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story with us
Yeah.
again in a little tamer manner
I
than
mean,
last
yeah.
time.
It's not getting much tamer than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
You never
was-
know, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, who knows?
the evolution
Chad,
of Chad.
Chad's gonna be wearing like a
bow tie?
A bow tie next time. He's gonna look like he's a Muslim, like all dressed up and be very well spoken.
I'll wear like a
Be
tuxedo
very well
t-shirt.
spoken. Yeah, there you go. But thanks for coming on and sharing
Yeah.
your story, dude. It's crazy that honestly, and this is
Yeah.
what I always say to a lot of people is, man, I'm glad you're not dead.
Yeah,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
sure, man.
Yes.
Straight up,
Thank you,
straight
guys.
up. And
Yeah.
thanks for coming on again.
Thank you for having me.
And we're hey, by the way, where can people hit you up?
At Surya, Surya.
Yeah. And that's on Instagram and TikTok and
Yeah, TikTok and linked all the things, all the social media platforms.
Okay, cool.
Firms.
Firms. Okay,
Firms.
well, that's the Chicago coming out.
Bar.
I
Yeah.
did at the bar doing my
the
social
accent.
media things.
Right. All right, dude. Well, thanks for coming out,
Yeah.
man. And then we've got Joe Lindsay coming up next week from Stepping Stone Sober Living, which I'm excited about. He's a good
Yeah.
dude and got a good organization going. But anyway, tune in next week. And remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety because if there was, we would all take too many.
Drop the ball down.